will invite him to collaborate with investigations.
Well, issues of bribery, allegations of bribery with regards to the CSSPS system has come to our attention. In fact, anytime we do hear such a information, we try contacting the people raising the allegation. And so far, I can tell you that the many allegations that have come forward, and we have contacted the people raising those allegations, they have not been able to come forward with evidence to aid us investigate. And we ourselves, we have also put internal mechanisms to ensure that there is meritorious application of the placement system.
Now the news this morning, Minister for Government and Communications Felix Kwachiofosu says government will sanitize the social media space with the introduction of fresh sets of regulations to prevent abuse of the new platform. Speaking at the launch of the Ghana Journalists Association Award, Felix Kwachiofosu said the regulations are to suppress press freedom.
We have had people use social media to threaten the lives of others. Some perceive the supposed anonymity that social media offers to be a pretext to engage in antisocial behavior that can endanger our collective security. Government has had to act swiftly in some instances to curb some spillovers that could prove problematic and injurious to our collective security. Let me assure you that government does not intend to curb freedoms. President Mahama, as you know him, is one person who supports the expression of free speech. He is exceptionally tolerant and is open to criticism.
Now, anti-corruption crusaders have hailed President Mahama's decision to meet the Chief Justice and Attorney General on ways to fast-track resolutions on the Auditor General's report. Well, the meeting is set for October 20 after the President identified that over the years, the Auditor General's findings have been replete with cases of financial irregularities and misappropriation of public funds, with some estimates putting the losses in billions of Ghana cedis. Co-chair of the Citizens Movement Against Corruption, Edem Senanus, spoke to 3FM.
I think that there's a lot to be done. We've gone through this cycle in one sense. We shout, hey, look at the figures. It's kind of hypocritical of us not to have taken the additional step of saying, look, you know what, this is not auguring well for us as a society. And I think that the president is doing all of us a lot of good by saying, let's get pulled by its horns and get some substantive decisions on how we can stop this thing of just having a public display of huge figures and then do nothing about it.
We're going to move to some more stories now, and this time on health as well as education. And the National Council for Parents Teachers Association, PTAs, is to intensify a campaign aimed at getting more children to take the mass vaccination exercise against cervical cancer. All this follows high levels of resistance from parents and children in several schools across the country. Here's the General Secretary of the National Council for PTAs, Raphael Gapson, speaking to 3FM.
They engage all of us, and we think that parents should not panic. This is not the first time that national exercises have been done over the years. And when something comes up and then there's a need to deal with, they do the necessary stakeholder collaboration. We are okay with it. And we want parents across the country. We are pleading with them and also our school-based PTA chairman and executives, and then at all the levels, at the pre-tertiary level, to come on board and then strengthen the collaboration and then help in the advocacy and then the education, the sensitization, to make sure that this program sees the light of the day. At the end of the day, our children benefit from it, and then preventing them from cervical cancer, and safeguarding their well-being of the adolescent girl.
And before we go this morning, the wife and children of the late high life legend Charles Kojo Fosu, popularly known as Daddy Lumba, have filed an injunction against funeral arrangements announced for him. The DL Radio on Wednesday, October 8, 2025, announced that December 6, 2025 has been set as a date for the funeral of the late Daddy Lumba in Kumasi. However, Lumba's nuclear family, comprising of his first wife, Akosia Sewa, Fosu and their children claim that the funeral arrangements were made without their consent. Well, in a press statement issued on Thursday, October 9, 2025, the Direct family described the funeral announcement of the musician as deeply distressing, saying that they first heard of it on social media. Well, according to them, Ebusuapinin Kofi Wusu and the funeral committee are acting in their own interests without regard for the wishes and rights of the deceased Direct family. The statement further said that the move showed a complete lack of respect for Mrs. Fosu and her children, who needed to make plans to travel to Ghana for the funeral. And that's how we end the bulletin this morning. But I'm going to give you a quick wrap once again of the headlines this morning. An Education Ministry moves to investigate allegations of bribery at school selection centers. Also, government vows to sanitize social media space with fresh regulations, and late Daddy Lumba's wife and children file injunction against his funeral slated for December 6th. That's all for the bulletin right here on 3FM 92.7. My name is Judith Brown. A pleasure coming to you this morning. Do stay tuned. Business News is up next.
Journey of Pan-Africanism and consciousness. It is your regular taxi driver with the urban blend and 3FM 92.7 in living stereo every day, Monday to Friday from 12:30 p.m. to 3 p.m. This is the show everybody listens to, so your business will certainly do well here. My name, Black Rasta. I am the rootical, hairtical, Don Gargan, Mua Fire. Come forward. Atinga ya chika fankare, Azure ya chika fankare, Abama ta chika fankare.
Follow us on social media. Twitter at 3FM 927, Facebook at 3FM 927, and also on 3news.com.
And hello there, good morning and welcome to the Business News on Sunrise. Coming up, Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, SEMSE, warns plunging oil production and revenue could derail Ghana's big push agenda.
It means that we shall need in excess of 1.6 billion, which I think that mineral royalties may not be able to give us needed for this project.
And CAT International warns industry chambers acting like cartels, worsening consumer woes.
Some of them could even be fixing prices against consumers. Unfortunately, too, we do not have laws in Ghana to address the issues of cartels and price fixing.
Plus, investor interest key as government seeks 5.26 billion cedis in Treasury bill auction today. I am Michael Obodu. Details of these and many other stories coming up shortly. Please don't go anywhere. Thank you so much for your time. Straight into our top story. Ghana's petroleum sector is facing significant headwinds with a sharp decline in both crude oil production and corresponding revenue, a situation that could impact the funding of the government's crucial Big Push infrastructure program. Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, SEMSE, Benjamin Nsia, has stated that the Big Push program risks being cash-starved.
The Public Interest and Accountability Committee, PIAC, has revealed in its latest report that crude oil production dropped by 25.92%, falling from 24.85 million barrels in the first half of 2024 to 18.41 million barrels in the first half of 2025. This decline, combined with relatively lower international crude oil prices, led to a dramatic 56% reduction in total petroleum receipts. Revenue plummeted from $840.76 million in the first half of 2024 to just $370.34 million in the first half of 2025. The revenue shortfall is expected to severely constrain the funding allocated for the government's ambitious Big Push infrastructure development agenda. Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, SEMSI, Benjamin Insia, fears the Big Push programs risk being cash-starved.
We've already realized about $148 million into the ABFA. So we are expecting that maybe the ABFA is likely going to realize about a little over $300 million for the year of 2025. And it means that we shall need in excess of 1.6 billion, which I think that mineral royalties may not be able to give us the $1.6 billion needed for this project.
Alarmingly, PIAC reported in its 2025 semi-annual report that there was no spending on the Big Push agenda in the first half of 2025.
No expenditure was incurred under government's Big Push program towards infrastructure development from petroleum revenue, even though an ABFA of $146.3 million was allocated.
PIAC's findings raise serious concerns about the sustainability of critical infrastructure projects and call for urgent measures to address the dual challenges of declining production and revenue management.
I really look at the numbers of projects on the Big Push and realign the new reality when it comes to revenue to these projects. I think we need to cut the numbers of these projects. In cutting the numbers, we are able to complete these projects on time, and when we are able to complete, it creates a lot of waste.
That was the Executive Director of the Center for Environmental Management and Sustainable Energy, SEMSI, Benjamin Insia, ending that report. Now, a stark warning has been issued by the Consumer Unity and Trust Society, CATS International, claiming that industry chambers, which now exist in almost every sector, are operating more like cartels and actively working against the interests of consumers. West Africa Regional Center of CATS International, the Director of the West African Regional Center of CATS International, Piakusi Adumako, highlighted this worrying trend, stating that these chambers, ostensibly created to represent businesses, often collude in ways that stifle competition and lead to inflated prices or poor service for the public. Lamenting the regulatory vacuum, Mr. Adumako pointed out that the lack of a comprehensive consumer protection law in Ghana is exacerbating the situation.
Now, almost every practice, they have what we call chambers, chamber of bulk distributors, chamber of OMCs. We have chamber of cement producers, chambers. And these chambers have become more like a cartel. Some of them could even be fixing prices against consumers. Unfortunately, too, we do not have laws in Ghana to address the issues of cartels and price fixing. Unfortunately, too, we don't have our consumer protection laws here. And so everything in this country goes against the consumer. But one of the problems we fail to understand is that everybody is a consumer. Everybody wants to protect his or her turf and then rather talk about others. But I think that you shouldn't only be thinking about consumer protection when you are in your vulnerable position. You should be thinking consumer protection every day when you also offer your services, because we are all consumers in this space.
I heard the Director of the West Africa Regional Center of CATS International, Piakusi Adumako. Now, government is set to return to the domestic market today in a bid to raise 5.26 billion cedis through a treasury bill auction. The funds are crucial for refinancing maturing obligations and addressing near-term funding pressures. This report has more.
The auction will cover all three short-term tenures, the 91-day, the 182-day, and the 364-day bills. This financing attempt comes at a critical time as government has faced consecutive shortfalls in its recent auctions. In its last Treasury bill sale, government raised 2.57 billion cedis, falling 1.13 billion cedis short of a target of 3.71 billion cedis. This marks the second straight under-subscription, signaling a moderation in investor demand for short-term government paper. The central question surrounding the upcoming auction is whether this under-subscription trend will be reversed. Currently, the yield on the 91-day bill stands at 10.47%, which is notably above the current inflation rate of 9.4%. This positive real return, the return after accounting for inflation, is typically an attractive factor for investors. However, the recent decline in demand suggests that other factors such as liquidity constraints or alternative investment opportunities may be influencing investor decisions. Market watchers will be keenly observing whether the attractive real yield is sufficient to stimulate renewed investor interest and ensure government meets its significant 5.26 billion cedis target.
And that was a 3 Business News Desk report. Now, financial economist Dr. Eric Boakye-Yadom has criticized the Bank of Ghana's plan to inject more foreign exchange into the market, describing it as unsustainable and likely to fuel continued currency volatility in the short to medium term. The central bank had announced that beginning October 2025, it will commence FX intermediation under its domestic gold purchase program, with plans to sell up to $1.15 billion to the market.
The move comes amid fresh depreciation of the cedi and earlier warnings from the International Monetary Fund (IMF), which cautioned against what it termed excessive intervention in Ghana's forex market. Speaking to 3 Business, financial economist Dr. Eric Boakye-Yadom said the cycle of instability is unlikely to end unless government prioritizes local production of essential goods currently reliant on foreign exchange for importation.
At what point are we going to allow the market to freely determine the prices of FX? Are we going to do it in perpetuity? In as much as the BOD is trying, I don't see the fiscal side supporting. You see, all these monetary policies that the BOD is putting in place is waiting for the fiscal side to support in terms of our ability to produce basic goods and services to bring down our importation because of the excessive demand for foreign goods.
That was financial economist Dr. Eric Boakye-Yadom speaking there. We'll turn our attention now to the currency and the commodities market and bring you updates.
On the interbank foreign exchange market, the dollar is selling at 12 cedis 30 pesos and lost 10 pesos. The British pound is selling at 16 cedis 35 pesos. It also lost 25 pesos. The euro is selling at 14 cedis 21 pesos. It also lost 18 pesos. However, be guided that these figures could be higher at a forex bureau near you. On the global commodities market, Brent crude is trading at $65.20 per barrel. Gold is trading at $3,976.86 per ounce, down by $65.17. Cocoa is trading at $5,945 per ton, down by $55.
And those were updates from the currency and the commodities market, bringing an end to the business news on Sunrise. For more business stories, please visit our website as 3news.com/business. I am Michael Obodu. Thank you for listening. As always, please stay safe.